last night there was a teletown hall, and it was hosted by Personhood USA. So as you can imagine, it all had to do with abortion, anti-choice. What are you Republican candidates going to do to make sure that we pass personhood amendments? You get the picture. And I think there were a few notable things that happened last night that we should mention. For instance, Rick Perry has become even more extreme when it comes to his anti-choice stance. At first he said, look, I don't like abortion. I want to ban abortion unless it is for a woman who has been raped or in the case of incest. However, now he says, no abortion for anyone, even when in cases of rape and incest.
Yeah. Classy, keeping it classy, and of course that makes you apparently more pro-life.
He claims that he talked to someone from Personhood USA who was born out of rape, like her mother was raped and she decided, no, I'm gonna have this baby anyway. And Rick Perry is like, yeah, you know, she's happy, she's living a great life, so that's fine.
And if that worked for her, then
it'll work for everyone else, and everyone
right.
should make the exact same decision, regardless of what situation they're in.
Well, and since that worked for that one lady that I happened to talk to in the hallway, I'm going to make you have your kids, your rapist kids, if you get raped. See how that makes sense? And of course, it has nothing to do with meeting that person. That's nothing but a lie. It's Rick Perry trying to out-faith everyone else because he's in the Iowa caucus and he needs the evangelical Christian vote. So he's like, how more anti-gay do you need me to be? How much more pro-life do you need me to be? How much more vicious do you need me to be? Somebody gets raped, victim of incest. So what? Who cares? Make them have the baby. Somebody's gay? Let's make sure we hate him. Hey, come on, I'm pro-family. Let's hate someone else. Come on.
So Rick Perry, of course, like any other Republican, wants to dictate the way we live our personal lives, even though they claim they're for small government. But Newt Gingrich is about 1,000,000 times worse because not only does he want to dictate the lives of Americans, he wants to dictate the lives of people internationally. So what he wants to do is basically stop organizations or stop government money from going into foreign aid to countries and areas that are pro-choice. Or have laws that allow abortion. So for instance, in Mexico City, you are able to get an abortion. Newt Gingrich wants to make sure that we don't put any federal dollars into Mexico City.
That's it. So all foreign aid dependent on just one issue. Forget everything else. Hey, you know, our strategic interests, our national security interests. No. Who cares? Abortion will be the one issue that decides everything. And by the way, Newt Gingrich goes further inside the United States too. He says, not only will I make sure that, you know, I'm no abortion under any circumstances, but if the court rules otherwise, I will label them anti-American and ignore what they say.
Right.
The guy's running for dictator. He's not running for president. I mean, he's so outrageous, but the Republican field has become so maniacal that we're just kind of used to it. And we're like, Newt Gingrich would like to be dictator and ignore the Supreme Court entirely. What do you mean ignore the Supreme Court? And these guys run based on the Constitution? What a joke they are. They haven't even read the damn thing, right? I mean, you're telling me you would ignore the judiciary? You got that out of the United States Constitution? They're pathetic.
No, and you know, that's the reason why, you know, when you say things in favor of Ron Paul, and when you say that you can understand people's support for Ron Paul, and when you compare Ron Paul to Obama, and ask who is the lesser of two evils, I can kind of understand because Ron Paul didn't attend this thing. You know, Ron Paul isn't going around talking about how he's going to dictate what other countries do when it comes to their abortion policy. So, you know, in that respect, I can understand why he's definitely the best Republican candidate, but he's still disastrous.
Yeah, and look, here's Ron Paul's position on this issue. He's pro-life. Now, that is clearly, in my opinion, against the libertarian position. Because he's getting into the middle of your vulva, right? I mean, he's getting between you and your doctor. That's big government at its worst, making decisions for you, the most intimate private decisions. Of course, the way that they justify that is say, oh, no, since we think it's a life form, well, then, you know, we're protecting that life and we have to do it and yada, yada, yada. I get it, right? But in this case, they think he's not going far enough because he says, I would let the states decide. And then Personhood USA loses its mind, saying you're pro-life, but no, the 10th Amendment is irrelevant when it comes to this. On everything else, we're going to scream 10th Amendment till we're blue in the face. But when it comes to abortion, you shouldn't have any states' rights. The federal government should outlaw it for everybody under all circumstances and impose our beliefs on everyone else and not let the states decide at all. So they don't like Ron Paul because he's not extreme enough for them.
Right.
And by the way, imagine Ron Paul going and telling another country what to do with, with their domestic policy, their reproductive policy. I mean, so he's wrong, in my opinion, on this, on not just whether pro-life, pro-choice, you can disagree on that, but what the libertarian stance on that issue should be. But he's, as usual, better than others.